Donkey Kongs and had the DK Rat playing, and there was one little Donkey Kong.
Yeah, that was a lot.
Alright, but yeah, no, we're probably gonna just open up with the origin point of this game, which has nothing to do with anything except for XJL and another game that we're gonna be doing tonight.
Yeah.
So I guess I'll open it up. You
me
can
go
start
see
playing, I suppose.
Let me go see what is doing.
He's streaming.
Yeah, I mean, but I don't know if he's wrapping up or not. That makes me nervous.
Don't worry, we can just listen. If they come in the middle of the story, I'll catch them up, or just tell them to watch the VOD because I'm not going back.
Fair enough.
All right, but you gotta start playing though. I need the backdrop.
Anyway, so this is about how we are responsible for this game.
Yep.
And how other people are discovering it and have no idea, because they also talk about how great the other games we've made are, but they have no idea that we also made this one.
Yeah, no, that's the funny part, right? Because like it's like, oh man, XJL or Fighters History Dynasties are these amazing games. It's like, oh yeah, the Super Fighter remake you can get on the website. There's like a paid product because we got paid to make this. We did that.
Yeah.
Like, we went from, I'm pretty sure we made the only ever released Sango Fighter fan game. I can't find any other ones. We went from, I guess in a way this is our Sonic Mania, if you want to be like really funny.
Yeah.
Because like, we initially just made a Sango Fighter fan game. Before even Karnav's Revenge, it was Dynasty Warriors with Nobunaga and whatnot. We need Soldier. To be honest, there is a Soldier in Sango Fighter 2, but they don't have a code to let you play as them, so we couldn't rip the sprites.
Yeah. That would have to. We would only be able to get that. To the same way we got this. I guess.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I don't know. Anyways, so how did this start, right? So it was way back, I want to say, this last year in January or February, right? I was on Mugen Guild, and wait, why'd you change the resolution?
Because it was getting kind of choppy.
Oh, okay.
There we go.
Is that correct?
I don't feel like this is correct.
No, I think you put the 640 by 480, which is not widescreen.
It's supposed to be 400.
Oh, no, it is. Okay, I'm dumb. Maybe when the game... Wait, turn full screen to yes. Maybe that's what's doing it. The video settings? Maybe that's the problem. You have to restart it. But, alright, it was back in,
Hold on.
Alright, well, let's see if it looks better in gameplay.
Me thinks that I may have made a big mistake with the system dev. Well, that no, because the client that we had would definitely have said something. Let me tell you that.
Yeah.
He is a very okay. So that's correct. I guess just full screen looks like this. It's fine.
Yeah, see what it looks like in game. I'm sure it's. It's very odd.
It only looks weird to us. On stream, it looks fine.
Oh, okay. Well, that's refreshing. What is this, Mario 3D All-Stars?
Okay.
Well, if it looks good on stream, it doesn't matter. Anyways. Okay, so the start, like, the story of this. Was it in January, or, I want to say it was January or February.
It was actually November when I told you.
Oh, right! It was November 2020, wasn't it?
So, the person who owns the rights to this was like, he kind of just put out a thread asking for someone to potentially port this game to Mugen. And we saw it, and I was like, should we do that? And
actually, no, I remember the conversation exactly. You sent it to me, and you were like, hey, you should, like, DM him. And I'm like, I would, but I feel like because it's like this, it's something that I wouldn't feel comfortable working on without you, because, like, we did this stuff together. So it was that point that, yeah, we agreed that, like, hey, we should do this. And so we DM'd the guy, right? Actually, no, you DM'd him. Because we prepped the whole pitch thing. And we agreed that we were going to use Fighter's History as Dynasties, and TMNT Cross Justice League as, like, our portfolio, so to speak, right?
I might be dead. Well, yeah, you got me.
Because, like, we had to pick something that we worked on that would actually build confidence. For, like, we can port this mostly accurately and make comprehensive good changes to the gameplay. And I thought, you know, Cross Justice League is honestly better than FHG's in that regard, because FHG's is very fan-gamey.
Yeah.
But, you know, Cross Justice League is really professional. I think FHG's we just used because, you know, it had Sango fighter characters in it. So it's like, oh, we know a lot about the source material at least. So we sent him that, and Kame was like, yeah, I sent it to him, and then I think it was it a week later or a couple days we got a DM back?
It was a couple days, and he was at first seemed like he was insistent on us using M.U.G.E.N because he was like, I don't want it to be online, I don't want it to be all these other things, and I was telling him, no, you don't understand. We need to use this engine to make the game from the ground up to be exactly what you want it to be, and to be able to do the story mode and all this other stuff, because I had the experience of doing story mode already by that point. Even though Cross Justice League wasn't out yet, the story mode was very much finished. So I knew what I was doing already. And I was like, if you want the story mode, you can do that. If you want the story mode of how you got the soldier and the general, you can do that in this engine. I was like, if you want the bonus game thing, you can do that in this engine. Like, you can do literally everything you're asking for. And I was like, and more. This is before I decided to throw in the fact that we could support multiple languages, because I wasn't entirely sure, but I found a way to do that. And that was eventually added in too. So this game is in English, Taiwanese, and Japanese. And that's just a thing that only you can do in this game. Also, it has this, where you can press a button and speed up the score. In M.U.G.E.N, you can't press buttons after the round ends. It just doesn't accept them anymore. So that's very much specific to this engine. Like, everything that made the original game is only possible on this engine.
Yeah, we needed M.U.G.E.N Go, so we had to be really insistent on it. And the other thing we had to do that I was insistent on is prepare a gameplay pitch, because we both agreed that if we're gonna remake this, we don't want it to just be like the DOS game.
Right.
Because the DOS game is, okay, I don't want to be mean, because it wouldn't be fair to call it not good, because like, it's like, I'm pretty sure it was literally their first fighting game on DOS.
Right.
But it was rough.
Oh.
In the M.U.G.E.N, whatever you want to call it, the port to that was not much better, if better at all.
And that's the other thing. These sprites that you're seeing and this palette you're seeing comes from the M.U.G.E.N version of this game. Never before seen outside of that, outside of really shoddy emulation. So, like, this bridged the gap between two games. And
yeah, essentially.
The story behind the M.U.G.E.N port is even more interesting, because some of the voices on that one came from Sango Fighter 2. So for those who don't know what the Super M.U.G.E.N was, it was Taiwan's answer to the Super Nintendo, like hardware-wise and content-wise. It only had like 8 or so games, and 5 of them were by Panda themselves. So they kind of like, they really committed to like, we can do our own console. It's not quite what Panda or happened, but like the important thing is it allowed us to bring that in. Now those sprites weren't exactly great. Like it gave most fancies 2 more frames of animation, and it had some Franken-sprited normals and other things.
Yeah, the big one was the added normals, because before that, we would have had to make a lot more original assets, because we still had to. We still had to make like a couple of new frames.
Most of which got shot down, by the way.
Yeah, a lot of them didn't make it, but some of them made it in.
So there are 3 M.U.G.E.N s. There's M.U.G.E.N Classic, which you should never use. There's M.U.G.E.N Plus, which you should never use. And there's M.U.G.E.N Go, which you should probably use. Okay, we just round start super? I understand.
But yeah, so we did those original sprites. And we had to come up with a gameplay pitch. That's where I was on the story. The gameplay pitch was important, because I was like, if it's going to be 4 buttons, we have to do something with it. And so I told Kame, give me about a week, maybe a couple days. I'm going to go to work and like, you know, hang around and try to like basically write down what I think this should play like and how I could like idealize it. And I settled with I wanted it. I think when I was going in, I wanted something like KOF 95, where like without dashing, but otherwise it's very similar. Where it's very fast, it's very fluid, it's very like retro feeling. There's not a lot of advanced movement or anything. Like there's nothing complicated like that. No rolls, but it's very much like pick up and play, 4 buttons, nice and simple. That's what I was going for. So I pitched, this is how lights will work, this is how heavies will work. And I told Kame, now that we have all this, we gotta kind of format it into like a letter and send it back to him and see if he's, you know, interested in working with us, you know, see if he'll bite on that. And so we sent it, and I think this was one of the longest waits for a response we had, right?
Yeah, because like he really had to think about it. And he was hard to convince because he wanted this game to be so perfect to the original, because he wanted people who like the original to just be able to play it on modern systems.
Yeah, but basically, like, it would run smoother, it would, like, scroll smoother, it would animate smoother, but it would effectively be Sango Fighter on new hardware. And so we were like, oh, okay. But we want to make this more, right? Because, like, there's no point in doing that, because, like, the gameplay was clearly the weak spot of this game. So, like, if you're going to update it, and you're going to pay somebody to code an update for it, why would you not want it to just be better? Because I don't think it would impact the enjoyment. But I want to say about halfway through the development process, I'm getting off topic before I go back, but about halfway through we decided we could implement a classic mode that would, you know, sate that, right? Because he had mentioned that he wasn't really going to leave the original up for download at the time. But that wait was terrifying. He said he wasn't going to leave the original up. And I was like, well, what the hell? I guess we have to include a mode like that. Because I told Kame, well, we can add custom menu options. So there is a classic gameplay mode here. And that is basically our replication, yeah.
The whole thing behind classic mode was basically the lead up to that is, like, he knew there was a lot of changes happening, and all the time he was very nervous and, like, concerned that the game would lose its charm. And I was like, well, what if we were to put the classic stuff back? The original 2 buttons, slow as hell, throw being super if you have a full bar, and super projectile being projectile. Because one of the things that Matt and Muscle said in his video was like, man, everybody feels kind of samey as projectiles. And I'm like, if only you spoke to me, I would have been able to break down the nuance between all the characters. Because there's quite a bit of it. It's a lot of subtle things that you wouldn't think about.
Yeah, it's... We did come to that conclusion while we were making it. That's not, like, something that didn't cross our minds, so we had to differentiate the characters in a lot of little ways. A lot of the projectile frame data is very different across each character. It's kind of specialized towards, you know, what else they have. Walk speeds are pretty carefully picked. Normal properties and anti-airs and blah blah. It's very specific. Because, you know, Sango Fighter 2's, those characters had a lot more different looking, like, movesets, right? If you look at Fighters History Dynasties, none of the Daiwai characters are very similar, except for the fact that they have really large normals. Like, they're all really different. But here it was, like, a little harder.
Cool. Clutch.
But we managed to do it. And speaking of, like, little differences, Matt didn't know how to pick the ASIN characters, so he couldn't, you know, laugh at the EX modes being very different in some ways and very similar in other ways.
Right.
But there's also a lot of really funny small differences.
There are hitbox differences so tiny that they basically change nothing, but if you were to find them, it would be pretty funny to look at.
Yeah, it's like, oh hey, you know. And there's also, like, the one that I didn't talk about on Twitter at all, and it's, like, the obvious one, but it's one you'd have to, like, look for, where, if you're playing an ASAN character, your jumping light kick will be active for, like, a couple frames. It's still good air to air, but if you're playing a DOS character, your jump light kick is literally infinitely active.
So let's talk about this bonus game since we're here. This thing is literally like almost one-to-one with the DOS code. I decompiled it and I took a look at it. And I coded it in this engine to the point where you can port it to any other language with very little effort. So it's not just a bunch of helpers or anything. No, this is all sprite explode, which are just basically default sprite elements that you can use for effects. I coded all of it to work from a programmatical standpoint using procedural coding. Did I have to do that? No. No, I did not. But I did it anyway because I wanted to challenge myself just to see if I could. Like, even this cursor, none of this is happening from, in this engine, you normally could just use a helper to probably do 90% of this and make it easy. But that's not how none of it works. It's all done from a updating per frame pixel precision check. I did that so it would feel more authentic. It would feel better to use because the original game plays like poop water in that regard. But that's neither here nor there. Hello, Mike.
But yeah. And so that all happened. And he emails us back like, okay, you can do it. I've seen like your work on. He actually specifically mentioned that he found it very amusing that Cross Justice League used apparently something they have the rights for.
It was like one of their opening jingles that apparently belonged to fandom. I knew that at the time. I just found it funny because it matched what I was doing with the original Cross Justice League. For those who don't know what that is that about, on the original vanilla M.U.G.E.N game, it plays a jingle to represent like an old school news representation, and that would just kind of fit the bill. And I changed it in Turbo. Like, I didn't have to, I just kind of did, and it fits. It's even funnier because it sounds like some Weather Channel shit, but.
But yeah, he'd heard that and he was like, you know, based on that, Fighter's History Dynasties and like the general professionalism and like the craft of these projects, you would seem like people that would be suitable for this. Because he was also looking for somebody that cared about like preserving what these games are. And I mean, fuck, if there is anybody that cares about Sango Fighter's legacy, it would probably be the two people that made the only Sango Fighter fan game.
Right. I definitely said 7:30 EST. I don't know where you got 11.
That's hella late, but yeah, welcome aboard nonetheless.
7:30 is when Homer's leaving the stream, actually. I might do something else.
Is probably when I'm gone, but you know.
Well, the stream is by no means over at that point, it's just that Homer will be tagging out, and that will just be it with that.
But, yeah, that was the big story in that regard. And then we spent fucking months kind of going back and forth with them, you know, proposing new stuff, having new stuff said yay or nay. We mentioned the sprites. That was a really big debacle. Like, finding the amount of frames for making this a 4-button game was really hard. Some characters, their ASAN sprites were enough, and we could get away with reusing certain frames. But other characters, we didn't have anything for them. We had to try and make some original stuff, and it didn't get through. Like, I'm pretty sure of all the Big D characters, the one that I wish we had gotten, you know, the chance to do an extra frame for Zhang-Fei. I think he really could have used it. I'm not completely upset with what he is or anything. I'm not like, oh, heartbroken or angry. But compared to the other characters, he has the least amount of new assets. I don't think he has any. Most of the other characters have at least one additional frame we did, but Zhang-Fei does not.
So there actually is a bit of an Easter egg to it, because it's still there. You can access that other frame, so I guess like the cutting room floor could find it if they wanted to just show you unused assets. Go. Good enough. Got it. Okay.
But yeah, there was that, and then there was, we had to fight to keep some of the other stuff. Like, Xiahou Dun, if you've played with him in this game, his crouching heavy kick is a sweep. or it's a slide, and it uses his jumping heavy kick animation, and that we had to convince him to leave in, and we took it out for classic mode because he didn't have that in the DOS games, so like it wouldn't make any sense. Worth noting too is that in classic mode you can't pick the ASIN characters because, you know, the ASIN was always the 4-button version anyway, so there was no real point. It would have been weird. It would have been 2-button versus 4-button characters, and we weren't really about to get into that.
Yeah, but classic mode is literally its own deal, in which,
yeah.
you know, like I said, the game is 2 buttons. It's slower. Like, some basic chains are there, but just enough for you to use normal to special. Which he was fine with that because he was like, I don't want it to be that same because then it would just be unbearable.
Yeah,
but it also
like,
features the old soundtrack, which is hilariously bad.
Oh yeah, the old one. The new soundtrack is actually really good.
Oh yeah, this music slaps.
It took a long time to get because he had to go through more than one person. I think it was quite an ordeal. But he managed to get it figured out, and you know, we got our whole soundtrack, and it sounds really great. Like, it's, I don't know if I'd call it, you know, like Melty Blood fighting game tier, but it's very appropriate for what the game is. You know, it's based on the Three Kingdoms. It's gonna sound like that.
It reminds me of Romance of the Three Kingdoms, a strategy game, honestly.
Yeah, it sounds a lot like those. Yeah, those Three Kingdoms strategy games. Ironic that General Chicken would use those songs, and we would, by proxy, end up using them, but...
Right.
Right. So we go through all those emails, we get all those changes approved, and then the big thing that took the longest time was the the round of basically small and minor adjustments that he wanted made to the game, which took a long time. The QA testing, which was like a small chunk of that time, you know, every time we would do a new change, we'd have to test it. And then there was the language. I think the language is the one that took a lot of time. If it wasn't the music that held it up, it was the language inclusion.
Yeah, because like there were some characters that I got wrong because I can't fucking read either of these languages. So there was a lot of back and forth to make sure the characters was right. And then once that was done, he sent it to a person he knew in Taiwan to actually try it and see if they approved of the translations. And that was another month of waiting. Like we were done with all the code probably around April, and we started in January. Obviously, the game didn't come out till December. So
yeah,
that kind of tells you
I want to say,
what happened
we finished,
with the length of things.
I want to say we finished like the basic code in April, because like it wasn't all done because we had to do all the extra menus and do all the round of polish and balance decisions and all such a shit. But
yeah.
like every character was done in April because I had taken a week off work sometime in February or April, I think it was, to literally work on this game with you. And we did like, I'm pretty sure every day that week, all 7 days, we were on a Discord call working on this game. And that week was when we decided we were gonna speed up the character programming process by splitting it between us. Because normally what would happen is one of us would code a character and then the other would touch it up. So like Kame did Guan Yu, and then I touched up Guan Yu, and then I did Zhang Fei, and then Kame's like, hey, this is wrong, and he fixed up Zhang Fei. But on that week off, I had decided, fuck it, Xiahou Dun and Xiahou Yuan are both really similar in this game, so why don't we both just make them? That'd be pretty fun, right? Because then we can, like, they'll feel different because they were made by different people. And it ended up working because the way they work, despite looking really similar animation and, like, sprite-wise, they feel very different to play.
Right.
And I think a big part of that is because both of us worked on them separately. Because if you had made both, I imagine you would have reused a lot of animations. It wouldn't have been bad, but it would have made them feel, you know, similar. But the animation timings outside of certain frames are all different for Xiahou Dun and Xiahou Yuan, so they feel very different because they're made by two different people. But that is the basic story. I think that covers most of it. The game came out in December. We patched it one time, because I realized we had forgotten to include one line of code that was really important. And Kami was like, well, it's a good thing, because we have our opportunity to, update it, because the guy says we have to fix it. There was a certain bug with, I don't even remember, I think it was something in the menus. Some kind of bug.
So, something was going on with Yahoo Doom, and I had to redo how his eye patch thing worked, because he's an asymmetrical character. He's the first one I've ever done.
Oh right, we had to do that for him too, because we had done that in Fighters History Dynasties for Jahodoon, but we didn't do that here. We had to fix that up.
That was another selling point we told him, is the fact that we can make it a true asymmetrical, where he has an eye on one side and the eye patch on the other. And I think we included screenshots of how that works. So what I did in Fighters History Dynasties is I literally just drew the eye back on in separate colors, so I could then use palettes. Because again, in the first version of Fighters History Dynasty, M.U.G.E.N was a cameo kind of deal, and you could play with them by holding start. But in M.U.G.E.N, obviously you couldn't replace the whole character. So I did that to have both characters in. I didn't need to do that. It was just something I really wanted to do.
Yeah, it was, yeah. And then M.U.G.E.N, when he was ported over, we just put him on his own character slot. But we utilized what we had already done palette-wise to just make it so that Jahodoon could be asymmetrical.
Oh,
there's the Dino
Oh,
raid.
fuck! Okay.
There's 335 chatters.
You guys literally missed the entire fucking story of the game.
Yeah, I could run it by real fast once chat slows down, because everybody's coming in and popping off, which is okay.
Yeah, welcome everyone. Welcome to the stream where we talk about how we made this video game.
Yep.
You're just in time for me to be almost done with our arcade run.
Yeah, because, well, that's just not ordered, is it? It's just random characters. You can just get Lu Bu first if you're really unlucky.
Yeah.
So, basically, the lore. We emailed the guy, because it was on M.U.G.E.N Guilds. He emails us back. We'll do it. I pitched the gameplay. It's really hard to sell to him, but we managed to convince him. We also convinced him by adding a classic mode and an enhanced mode, because you need both. Oh my god, we're programming all of these characters by April. We did do that. The M.U.G.E.N and Jahodoon feel very different because we literally made them both side by side, but each of us worked on one. The languages is really cool. That also took a lot of time. Music composer drama. That was a whole ordeal.
We actually didn't really talk about the music. So, the musician had some odds with the person who wanted this game made. They got into a tip and they had to patch it up and actually start working on the game, because this music is really good. I just got body by
it took fucking forever, but it is really good.
Don't sub to this channel. Do you know how often I stream? This is the first time I've streamed this year. just to give you guys an idea of that. I don't stream very often because I'm a family man.
Well, now you get those family man dollars.
I mean, I still haven't made $100, which is not giving me a dime.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I would stream more, streamer, but you know what I dealt with this morning? My son learned how to say banana, so I dealt with him saying banana for an hour. That's what I dealt with today.
I mean, Lu Bu is yellow.
So.
Oh look, there's more comment. There you go.
Oh lord. Okay.
Well, now you're gonna get $100.
I'll take the $300. You guys are supporting my combo breaker expenses.
Oh yeah!
Oh yeah, you're right. That thing I can't go to. For the record, though, if you're at Combo Breaker and you play Cross Justice League Turbo,
so this is why this game is fun. You can reset on juggles, and you can do a lot of silly ass mix-ups that you wouldn't think about doing. The gameplay is so fast.
Oh yeah!
Yeah,
and you can do
something we decided on. Something we decided on really, really fast was that we wanted juggles to be really quick. So it was like, you can't juggle. Initially, actually, the juggle rules are really strict. Back when we started making it, you could only juggle specials, right? If I remember correctly, you could not juggle normals. And then about halfway through development, I was like, wouldn't it be cool if like you could hit with an air normal or like hit with a normal and it would reset. Because I'm like, KOF did that, and I think it's really fun. Because it would open up, reset opportunities for bigger damage or, Yomi or whatnot.
Right.
And then you were like, that'll feel good. So I implemented that, and then that's basically the final version of this juggle system. And basically, every special move that launches or knocks down has a juggle timer. They're a little different per character. Some characters have, like, an absurd amount. Like, some moves just basically have anywhere juggle. Like KOF 11. Other moves have really strict juggle timers. Generally, it's pretty generous, though. Like, I want to say it's usually really juggle friendly. You can usually link a normal, at least, on most things that launch. But if you do a normal at all, you can't hit them in the air with a normal and then cancel into a special and the special hits. They're forced into a reset with their invincible. They can't do that. But you can do special to special.
So I just want to say thank you for the subscribers. You are now entitled to absolutely fucking nothing because I don't have anything to give you. But you'll know that you supported a person who couldn't take money for the other game. I can absolutely take money for this game. If you want to donate while I play this game, go ahead. Because
because technically speaking, we were paid to do this, so we could actually shill the hell out of this and be like, yeah, I have a Ko-fi page on my Twitter. If you look for TTTTTSD underscore on Twitter, it's a pinned post.
What happened?
I don't know, did it crash?
Oh!
Wait,
Hold on.
What happened?
The laptop that we're using, it just went to screensaver.
Oh!
Give it a second.
I was gonna say, because, like, I can't imagine there's an arcade mode bug, is there?
No. We made sure of that. Oh, okay, maybe it is. That's new. I don't know. You know what? It's fine. We're just gonna run it back. It's fine.
Yeah, I mean...
We got time. This has never happened before. It's fine.
Special confirmation. We're also gonna be playing Fighters History Dynasties tonight. Because that game is important. So now that we've talked about how this game got made, let's talk about the context.
Yeah, so...
The history. We can do story mode, to be honest.
Yeah, that'll work. So, the story of how we got here, all the way back in like 5-6 years ago.
Was it 2015 or 2016? I think it was 2015.
I really don't remember.
I think it was 7 years.
It was 2015, because I was still in my apartment at the time.
It was what?
It was 2015. I was still in my apartment at the time.
Yeah.
So, Homer, Dish, Shimon Powell, who is not here, and I were just... We used to just randomly stream moving crap, and he was like, here's a Zhang Fei, because I was really big into Dynasty Wars, and I still am. So he was like, here's a Zhang Fei, and it was like really good when we saw the AI doing stuff, and like when Homer was doing SAG class tournaments, and Zhang Fei was like, he was doing streams. He was doing real ass streams. So, like, we thought that was really cool. So we just started getting the other ones. And like a couple weeks later, Homer was like, man, these characters are legit, you gotta see them. And I'm like, okay. So at this point in time, M.U.G.E.N Classic was kind of blowing up again. Like, because of the fact that it was online M.U.G.E.N. Before that, there was no Parsec, there was none of that. We had Hamachi, we had Tungle, and other services. So Homer threw a build together with all the Sango fighter characters from General Chicken.
Yep.
And
one extra character being Shikitono from Melty Blood. I remember that specifically. That was...
if you die in story mode, you die in real life. I can't die. Fuck.
Yeah, that was the one extra character. We had all those characters. It was like by General Chicken because it's like, whoa, these are really cool. And so I put them all together in this build. And I said, oh, this is Dynasty Warriors, because why are we doing this? And I sent it to Kame, and we net played it.
Why? What? How many hype trains are going? First of all, can someone please explain to me what a hype train is? Start there.
It's weird. It's weird Twitch marketing CPM stuff.
Okay.
But don't worry about it. Anyways, Oh, where was I? Right. So we had all those characters compiled. And like, oh, okay. You know, we played with them and it was kind of hype. Right? Like, the meta of that game was super degen, though. Like, so General Chicken had, like, really cool moveset ideas, but he also had really bad game design balance ideas.
Yeah.
And,
John Fay used to just be a fucking monster.
Zhang Fei, I mean, it wasn't even him. There were characters with 9-frame overheads. Guan Yu's standing heavy punch. Guan Yu's standing heavy punch was a 9-frame overhead that went half screen that you could just cancel.
Right.
Zhang Liao's overhead was like twice as fast. The other thing that's really important about that M.U.G.E.N build of Dynasty Warriors is that M.U.G.E.N's default mechanics did not work. Like,
right,
air recovery.
Yeah, didn't exist.
And
so we just thought there was like a whole bunch of combos that weren't even real, and it was hype as shit. That's where Dynasty Warriors start.
Yeah, so like, we saw all those combos and we were doing them and we were like, oh man, General Chicken's really smart. And then I put it into regular M.U.G.E.N and it was like, oh wait, they can just air tech out of all that. But wait, what if we just made that the system? It's like, those weird OTGs that you're, like, those OTG combos that you see happen, and like those, you know, the way Fighters History Dynasties plays is literally because of that. That system was started because literally nothing worked. Because it was like, oh, you know, you can air tech, right? You would be able to get out of these combos, but since you couldn't in M.U.G.E.N, it was like, oh, but wait, this is actually sick. It's like this weird, like, Breaker's Revenge kind of thing. And we ended up rolling with that. And so Dynasty Warriors got made. And that was a long process too, because that encapsulated filling in the blanks for the missing characters. And to explain how that went, I have to talk about Ray McDougal in Dynasty Warriors, because that's where he was before he was in FHDs. Because I was talking with Kame, and he had brought Dynasty Warriors in its current state to a convention, and people had compared it to Karnov's Revenge. And I was like, we are not going to rip Sunso sprites, we're lazy. Let us put Ray McDougal in instead. And I put Mizuguchi in. Because I was like, why not? Fucking, we don't have the sprites for the missing characters, so we can fill in the blanks with that. I was really dumb. We ended up agreeing that it was really dumb, and then we said, you know what, we're gonna rip the last 3 characters, because they're all the Wu characters, you know, Sunsa, Huang Gai, and Taishi Se.
I love the Anon kid. For that.
Oh god, yeah. Dude, you know
I
what?
had literally ripped them and had to clean them all.
Yeah, no, I did all Sunsas.
M.U.G.E.N just didn't work very well, so that's why it just didn't. M.U.G.E.N no work so good. The classic one, that is.
That was M.U.G.E.N stop. If this one's M.U.G.E.N go, that one was M.U.G.E.N stop. Like, just don't worry about it. But shoutouts to Omega Red's theme and Shunla the Atom for getting me through all of Sunsa's sprites being cleaned. So we cleaned up all those, and it was like, well, alright. We've cleaned all these sprites. You know, we got Sunsa, we got all them. What's the boss gonna be? You know, because this game didn't have a boss, and we're like, well, it could be Lu Bu, it could be Zhang Fei, it could be Guan Yu. We made boss versions of all them. They were all really broken. And then we're like, you know what? Because Dynasty Warriors PS1's a real game. Why don't we make Nobunaga the final boss? And that's how that happened. And then, about a bunch of the way through the testing, before we got to finalize everything, get all the endings and everything done, we had like this epiphany. Because it was in the middle of that game's development. We were like, dude, what if you made a tag fighter? Because we saw the Uno tag engine.
Your idea. He was like, what if you made a tag fighter? And I was like, what?
And I was like, well, look, dude, there's like an Uno tag engine, and I tested it out in vanilla, and it works, like, really well. And you were like, well, okay. And so Fighters History Dynasties began. And while all those streams are not archived, people can personally attest that we decided for that game that instead of closed-door development, we would stream all of it. So if we were going to make a new character, it was like, you know what? we're gonna stream it. And so like whenever we would work on a new character, Kame would go live, and we would live code them and work with the sprites. Sometimes we would do progress off stream, but a lot of the coding was done on stream, like almost all of it. So you would see us testing the AI, testing the characters' moves. All of that would be happening on stream. And so for anybody who was there during, I want to say 2016, 2017, that era, you know, it was in the middle of Game Center BS as well. We were doing all of that, and it was like, oh my god, look at this. You can see the roster kind of expand, because initially it was a bunch of Zhang Feis and a bunch of Reis. I remember that. It was literally just because we had to fill out the roster slots, and it would be impossible to select different characters with that. So we just had it fucking clustered with Zhang Fei and Rei, with the first two characters we made. And that's how Fighters History Dynasties happens. That was when we joked about somebody ripping Jackie sprites, like, oh, we'll put Jackie in the game from Dragon Master if somebody rips the sprites, haha. So that on stream, and then somebody DMs Kame like a day later, like, hey, I ripped the sprites. I remember that DM that you sent me. Hey, somebody actually ripped Jackie's sprites, and I'm like, hey, you want to run that one by me again?
Yeah.
And oh yeah. Yep, I got a PM with the minute.
Yeah, it's
So,
perfectly clean and everything. And
And
axes.
hitboxes too.
Yeah, like just for fun, he included the axes. Like that fucking matters since everything that game was aligned. It's the only way I can
Right?
describe
Like he was like, oh no, here's the version of all the sprites of the hitboxes in case you want to know where the moves hit. And I'm like, you gave us all of that? Like just, because like, I guess he saw the stream. He had to have, because there was no context for him to DM that to Kame outside of hearing that on stream. But that's how Jackie got put in the game. That's the story of that happening.
Yeah, and Jedi Ryan was because he told me how he ripped them. And I just put them in.
Yeah, well, Jedi Ryan we decided on, because it was like, well, we're gonna include as the last set of DLC, well, formerly the last set, because we were gonna include, what was it? It was 6 extra characters. It was Zhu Huang and Kung Fu Man, the 2 Suiko Embu characters.
Oh my god,
then,
Soldier, please.
The last one was literally Jedi Ryan and Ryu, right? The 2 other guest characters. Because we decided, oh, we're gonna do 2 more guest characters. We did 2 more guest characters from games that we already have guest characters from, because we had Akuma as a joke. And we're like, well,
Because Akuma's in every crossover.
Yeah.
So, you can't have a crossover without Akuma.
You know what? Do you know what really dates FHGs? And you can tell when it came out, because quite literally, Akuma was put in that game because he was in Tekken 7, and that was new when we were making Fighters History. Tekken 7 was new when we were making Fighters History Dynasty. So that should tell you how long ago that was being worked on. Because that was back when, you know, it was funny that Akuma was in Tekken. That dates it. I give that sets it back at least 7 years from now. Or at least 4 or 5 or 6 years anyways. Dynasty does not have a Gundam EX Review character. It is funny the amount of requests I got for like random character to be put in. I don't mind them, by the way. I sincerely don't. I just would say no. But we did all that. And then,
hey, glad you saw the documentary. I hope you enjoy the game.
And then in the middle of FHD's development, I want to say it was about halfway through the roster. That was when TMNT Cross Justice League was getting made, and there's already a documentary on that. I don't feel like we can add anything outside of the fact
that... you know about that game is that I also made that game. But this is the game we made. What you're watching right now is another Kame T5 joint. I
mean, to be fair, Cross Justice League is a Kame T5A what's going on here, to be more crazy, etc. joint. So technically we all made that, because I did work on Cross Justice League. My notable contribution in that game is me being the reason Batman is evil and fucked up. Like, that's literally my fault. That is 100% me. I'm sorry that I made Batman's command grab like that. Like, that is... Kame will tell you I am responsible for that. That is my fault. That is my cross to bear. But, oh my... That was sick. But, yeah. Cross Justice League, FHGs, and then all of that kind of led up to this. And that all started from a Sango fighter character downloaded on a M.U.G.E.N website. That's pretty much the build-up, right?
Yeah, so,
The conceit.
you know, we download a character from M.U.G.E.N, yada yada yada, 5-6 years later, we are paid to remake the original Sango fighter in all of its entirety. So,
yeah, it's a little fucking dumb, isn't it? Like, it's kind of absurd. Like, that is honestly a dream come true because, like, it was so cool to work on this. I think, like, in spite of the difficulties we did end up running into at some points, you know, it was hard. But I'm really happy with how it came out, and the people that played the original game, this is my favorite part. He sent us a bunch of collections of, like, comments he got, emails and whatnot after this came out, from people who had played the original, and everybody super loved, like, what we did with the mechanics and the remake and everything. Like, one of the big things in all those emails he was sent was that they really liked the way that every character was really faithful to the original game's, like, intent, but they all felt and played way smoother, right?
right.
Like, this feels like the vision they would have had, which was the goal when we were making these movesets. We didn't want to make them ours. We wanted to make what we thought they were going for, right? Because, like, if we had wanted to make this ours, it would have been different. Like, the movesets would have been a lot more wild, right? We probably would have done a lot more with what we had, but
Yeah.
that would have gone against the scope of the project, right? And that would have been, you know, because this was meant to be like an update or remake, right? It's supposed to be faithful. So we decided, you know, we're gonna try and follow the vision, and that was something that we emphasized when we were pitching the game too. You know, we don't want to make, we want to deviate the mechanics, but we don't want to deviate the moveset design, the care.
Gotta think stop not being a coward. Fight me!
He's turtling.
Oh!
That's a sick,
Dramatic kick.
that's
That's
but
one
yeah,
of my favorite
like,
frames. That's such a fucking sick ass kick.
that was in the original too, if I remember right.
Yeah. So here's the thing. This ending, we went back and forth, me and the client, roughly 28 times. Because he was worried about the timing, he wanted everything to match a certain way, he wanted the speed of things to be just so. So I had to literally go through Sango Fighter and record the whole thing and make sure that mine was on the same time. Like, this text, I just ripped from the game because I said I'm not making all this text myself. I don't care to. I just simply refuse to. So I ripped the animation of the text from the game itself, and that's just sitting here. Because I could not fucking be bothered.
It works better anyways, because I feel like the text drawing and Ikemen storyboards can sometimes skip inconsistently, so this guarantees it's always on the same cycle.
Yeah, which, I mean, this is probably one of my favorite parts of it, just because everybody flies by. It's like a shooting gallery from a NES game or something.
It's great. But no,
Well, I'm glad you get to build your computer assignment.
that's awesome, yeah. But yeah, that was like, that's the long story of the context behind this game, right?
Alright, so here you're gonna finally see us in the credits, because most people don't watch these. And we're like a minute into this. One thing that I didn't really understand about the credits is that he put a lot of people's names who actually did nothing in here. Like, programming, you would think it was made by these two. No. That's who made the original. And he probably could have said original programmers. Because otherwise, you only know that me and Homer did this is if you just watch the whole thing, which, yeah, most people don't do that, to be fair. But you'll get there. We're going to have a SpongeBob moment where I'll say, look, Gary, it's me. Really
yeah, you get to see my real last name.
We're gonna dox Homer live on stream right now.
Yeah, that's my name. It's coming.
I can't
No.
believe Homer's real name is
That's Brandon
yeah.
Cobb. That's our client.
Oh, there we go. There we go.
There it is. My real ass name.
His real name is Guangxing Ji. I can't
Yeah,
believe
that's
it.
me. You got me, dude. That's me. This whole time I've been Chinese.
We've done it. There he is.
But,
I mean,
yeah.
Cross Justice League does support 120 FPS. I wouldn't recommend it, but it does support it. Years ago,
This is a really cool.
That's true shit. That's what Homer can say. Years ago, he was Chinese. Alright, so I'm gonna try to actually beat arcade mode again, and hopefully it'll let me. Because everybody else has been able to beat it. Even Matt and Muscles beat it. So I don't know what I did wrong. So I'm gonna run my boy Deanne Way, because Deanne Way is...
Which one? DOS or Asen? Which one do you think is better?
I mean, they're both kind of stupid.
They are, but like, I mean, it really depends, right? Well, Asen has the better anti-air, doesn't he?
I think DOS has a better energy because he has this busted ass flash kick. That's like half.
Well, yeah, but I think we gave it a worse hitbox and worse invincibility.
Oh, okay.
Well, because
We're
like
gonna
this
find
one,
out.
he goes higher. He goes
So,
higher up.
let's talk about the Asen animation, specifically on his stand.
Oh,
as
yeah.
you may notice,
Yeah,
his stomach is like his stomach has a mouth, and it's very uncomfortable to look
Oh
at.
yeah. So there are exclusive Asen frames. Not all of them are good. Most of them are good. Like Zhang Fei's look great. Some of them not the greatest.
Oh.
Oh yeah, that's an original move.
Yeah, that's an
I should
original
mention.
super that he was perfectly fine with, because otherwise in this game he either had a command throw super or a projectile super.
Oh,
and these
right.
characters just had command grab super, so they didn't
We
have
have to
projectiles.
talk about that part of the mechanics where that was a very big laborious debate. How do you spend meter? Which you wouldn't think would be a big like discussion, but this game didn't have manual supers in the original. It was literally they would happen automatically. Like if you did a throw and you had meter, you could get a super.
Right, you just did
So-
super throw.
Kame and I came to the agreement that the projectile supers would just be a motion. You know, that's what the guy who made this, or the guy who paid us, Brandon Cobb, he wanted that. You know, double quarter circle forward, boom, get your super fireball, right? That's standard. People expect that. The throw supers were Kame's idea mostly. And he was like, I decided to make them not invincible, but they are command grabs that have no super flash. So they have the same flow as the original game, roughly. And they hit in 3 frames, because throws in this game are frame 1. They're very retro. They're old school, like Street Fighter 2 throws. But the command grab super is a frame 3 command grab that is not invincible, but it does a ton of damage.
Yeah. So at that point, like, you had a way of like doing serious damage from opening someone up. So if you imagine how you could do resets in this game, and you have full meter, and you land, and they have to guess between getting normal grab, super grab, or just eating another button, like, the meta in this game is pretty insane. Okay.
Yeah, it's very scary. It's very vintage strike throw, very loaded risk reward like Street Fighter 2. It's meant to be front loaded like that. And so, and when we had that concept planned out, we also decided that, you know, some characters would have more unique command grab supers than others. So for instance, Zhu Huang, right? Asen Zhu Huang has almost no meterless juggles that, like, from a non-meaty, right? He can't juggle you without meatying you with the axe dive, or like an air connect or something. But he can juggle you from his command grab super. He's one of the only characters who can do that. If he has you in the corner and he hits you with that, he can actually combo off it and get a little bit of extra damage. The super doesn't do as much as a normal super, but it does not that much less, so he gets more damage than most characters from that, to make up for the fact that his, you know, regular on-hit damage is a lot lower. And Dash Zhang Fei, who is way worse than the Asen one, we ended up buffing him a lot, and one of the buffs we gave him was that he could combo off of his, because, like, God, he needed it. He's a lot better now with those changes, but initially he was really bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Da Zhang was a struggle until a lot of changes. And now he's just decent. You know, he's not as good as the A-Sen one, but he's good. The only other character with an original super is, I believe, Soldier and Cao Cao, right?
Yeah. Those are the only ones. I mean, Soldier has both new supers because he's a character that didn't have any. In fact, in the original game, he literally just didn't have a power bar. It just didn't exist for him.
Yeah, in the original game, he was only playable via cheat code, and we were asked to make him playable. And since we didn't have frames for certain things, it was a little difficult.
Oh, fuck.
Good Dizzy Mash.
Yeah.
It was a little difficult to make him fully fledged playable. But Kame, thankfully, is a very smart guy. He came up with a solution. So Soldier does not have a throw. This automatically makes him probably the worst character in the game because throws are frame 1 and they're very important for, stopping really dumb pressure and being like a safe punish, and also being a wake-up option, because just like in Guilty Gear and in Street Fighter, if somebody's doing a meaty and they're in your throw range, you can wake up throw them and it'll beat the meaty as long as they're not in the air, or throw invincible, right? So, wake up throw is really strong.
Yeah.
But Soldier cannot wake up throw because he can't throw. Instead, Kame gave him a special parry thing, where I believe it's the... What button is it?
Hard punch. So if he's
It's
on the
hard
ground,
punch.
he has a standing parry and a crouching parry. And if he parries it, he basically gets to just attack freely, which makes him super dangerous if you're mashing.
Yeah, so he can sort of... If he makes a read on what you're going to do, he can parry it, and he gets a guaranteed good punish, even if it's a jab. And in the air, his jump heavy punch is both a jump in attack, and it also has a parry frame on it, doesn't it?
No, it's just a really good jump in.
Oh, okay. So he's only got it on the
is just-
ground.
The hitbox one is probably one of the stupidest hitboxes in the game. Because he needed something. So he really can't be challenged in the air on the way down, unless you have an anti-air, because it'll probably beat it.
Yeah.
But all of these things are things he just needed to have.
Yeah, and he's still probably the worst character. I think we're pretty confident he is, like, the least good character, because he doesn't have the throw. Like, he's losing out on... He misses out on a very important system mechanic to how resets and how pressure works. But he does have very good juggles, pretty good damage. Good supers. Both of his supers are very good. His command grab super is a standard fare command grab super, and his combo super is solid. But... And again, he doesn't have a throw. But, Mr. Cobb was very insistent and enthusiastic for the Soldier to be a playable character, so we had to deliver on that, right?
So
And he was very happy with how Soldier turned out. He thought
Yeah,
the way
like,
we
if you know every other character in this game, and you play Soldier, you can kind of bully people. So he's the character you play to handicap yourself. Like, you're gonna see Soldier do some fucked up shit to me. Like that.
There's a parry right there, yeah. See, like...
Soldier
The parry
kinda
will
doesn't-
actually... Yeah.
Like, he could just do
Parry
things.
actually literally adds a hit to his combo counter, so you can kind of see that it worked.
Yeah.
And he's got some pretty large normals, too. They're not small. And he's got a really fast TP. Like, he's got a lot of good things. It's just, he doesn't have a throw. So if you get it on him, he's kind of fucked. Because he can't mash. He doesn't have a really fast normal. Like, I think his fastest normal is frame 4. It's like, the fastest normal in this game is a frame 3 normal.
His fastest normal is crouching kick, I believe. Crouching like
It might be frame 3. I don't know. Because the fastest normals hit on the 3rd frame in this game. And there is throw invincibility after you block. Like, if you block an attack, you have 4 frames of throw invincibility. So you can always mash jab to get out of a tick throw, but if they frame trap you, you die. It's a similar principle to a lot of fighting games.
And I should mention that his parry works on every attack except for throws. So he can parry supers too if he wants to.
Yes, you can parry anything. That's why
Warranted, the
it's
parry
very
frames are only active for about 4 frames. So it's a thing that if you do it, you're literally just styling a folks. Put it like this. It's the Daigo character. Alright, so now we're seeing this bonus game for the first time for the people who rated it. I'll tell the story again. I coded this bonus game to work on a procedural frame-by-frame timer as if it were still the DOS game. There are so many easier ways that this game could have been done. This could have been done, and I specifically chose the hardest way possible to challenge myself. Like, to the outside person looking in, yes, that was Superman, by the way, but to the outside person looking in, who knows how Mugen works, they're like, oh, you probably just used a bunch of helpers, right? There's no helper on this whatsoever. In fact, there are no hitboxes. There are no hit deaths. It's only just explodes, and that's it. So the birds flying, all of that are things that I have manually moving, including this cursor. And I do math to calculate where the arrow is going to tell you if you hit the bird in real time. I did not have to do that. In fact, it took me like a few days to figure it all out. But I really, really wanted to, so I could be like, hey, not only is this bonus game accurate to the original game, no one's ever going to do this again. Because one, it's probably way too much work, and two, it's not really worth doing, but it's really cool that I can say that I did.
Alright, something else we did in this game that I might walk back on FHDs. I might do it in Fighters History Dynasties for the final release of that game, which will be coming when Ikemingo Rollback is finished. Because Ikemingo Rollback is being worked on, and when that update comes out, I'll be updating Fighters History Dynasties for the final time for that. This game has standing lows in it, because that's an old fighting game thing. There are more than one standing low in this game. The M.U.G.E.N has one of them. His standing heavy kick that you're seeing there, that little kick there. That's a low. That is a standing low. That's cool.
Yeah, and some characters have really fast ones like Machado. This close standing light kick in Asen mode is a low. So, and he also has ways to reset you, and he also has like a lot of silly one-frame links. He's kind of nuts.
Machado is really funny. Yeah, he's a lot like he is in FHDs, funny enough. That's something we should point out too. We're talking about like making sure the characters matched their original design philosophies, and we did. But our general rule of thumb was that the DOS characters would be really close to what they were in the original, and the ASIM ones would be a little different. Because the ASIM port was like literally the same thing. So we decided we should make it a little more unique, right? So the ASIN characters tend to have more wild move properties.
Oh, yeah!
Like ASIN Guan, and we did the ASIN characters first, too, I should mention, which is really funny. We kind of went backwards, but we figured that the ASIN one had more frames, so anything that we finished there, we could port to the DOS one. Because that's how we got the 4-button gameplay. We had to use the ASIN frames. Because the DOS palettes are also different. Like
However,
player
the colors
one
are in the
palette,
exact same place, so we're able to like reuse frames without having to do anything extra.
yeah, we can,
really
we can
nice.
intermix frames between the ASIN and the DOS one, basically. Yeah. The only difference, generally, with ASIN to DOS is the player 2 palette or the second palette, right?
Right.
Sometimes even the player 1 palette was a little different, depending on the character. Like, Diamwe's skin tone here is different on DOS. He's a little bit... He's less,
I think that's gonna happen.
I guess he's less white on DOS, I should say. Because he looks more, like, kind of white here.
Yeah.
Like, his skin tone is different. Whereas on
So the
DOS,
important thing that I guess we're talking about for historical accuracy reasons, did you know in China that people come in more than one shade of color?
yeah.
And that the northern Chinese were actually descendants of Moors? That is why some of these characters appear to be darker. Because
Yeah, cool.
they're kind of from Africa. Now,
Yeah.
for whatever reason, I'm not here to get into the politics for whatever reason that is, they just don't talk about them. So what they did was, since Southside was already evil, in old video games, for whatever reason, like to use an interesting choice of colors to point out who the bad guy is. It allowed them to be accurate to the fact that the northern Chinese were not quite as Asian as you would think. So that's just an interesting thing. Guan Yu was bright red because he really liked strawberries. I don't.
I think it was like that's his mask.
Yeah, I think that was like his face paint kind of deal because he's the god of war.
Does include Sango Fighter 2 material? No, outside of a few voice clips that we used from the ASM one that were from Sango Fighter 2. Is there plans for a Sango Fighter 2 remake? We were asked, but we were told
We
that...
haven't really made a decision yet.
Yeah, but if he decides that he wants to have Sango Fighter 2 remade, I'm pretty sure he's gonna get us to do it. I think that's what he said, right?
Yeah, like, there's a whole other thing that he was talking to me about instead. But this is probably going to be next up on the docket because he was very happy with how this turned out. He was happy with how accurate it was. Like, for most people who download it, they wouldn't even think it's M.U.G.E.N at all. It just seems like it's the DOS game. Everything is there. The battle mode, the story mode, the fact that it has soldiers and then generals, like, all of that is there. Bonus stage. You can't do that in M.U.G.E.N. You literally just can't.
Yeah. So, yeah, if the cards fall the right way, we will make Sango Fighter 2. And we'll probably have to go a little more wild with the gameplay. So we're gonna have to think about a way to do that in a way that would not greatly disturb. Because we'll probably end up doing the same thing we did here, where we have a classic mode and an arranged mode, right?
Right. Because that game is also 2 levels.
Yeah,
no, well, Tough Guy was already remade by somebody else. I had nothing to do with that.
The trouble with Sango Fighter 2, though, is that we don't have the additional frames that we had with this game. So we're gonna have to really figure out what to do that isn't just use General Chicken sprites, unless they don't care. If they don't care, because General Chicken sprites look pretty good.
We want a super dash. Listen, in Dynasty Warriors, let me tell you what the fuck Homer did. Since the game is still not out. He fucking gave people air dashes and shit in that game. This game is wild as hell now.
Oh,
like
Dynasty
chargeable
Warriors
normals. He's got chargeable normals. He's got dash cancels. He fucking went crazy. I don't even know what the hell he's doing anymore with that.
Yeah, that one's getting a whole gameplay revamp. That one is still gonna happen. But it's gonna take a while for it to come out. Because I decided that, when I was looking at Dynasty Warriors again, I was like, this plays exactly like Fighters History Dynasties, but, like, that game only works because it's a tag game, right? Like, literally, the only reason it works as well as it does is because it's a tag game. And I'm like, I should just make this way crazier. Because it's single player, right? Like, or it's single character.
Right.
So, like...
I mean, to be fair, a lot of more crazier decisions are in that game. Just like the EX characters and all the stuff they can do, like, and of course the classic characters. Like, people don't know about the fact that Zhou-Yun and Zhang Fei are, like, mixed between 2 separate versions of themselves in Dynasty Warriors.
I mean, people don't know that Zhao Dun in Fighters History Dynasties is literally 2 characters combined. He's literally 2 different characters. Like, the story behind FHD, well, you know, we'll talk about it when we get to that game. Because I want to talk about the developmental history of Fighters History Dynasties, because we only kind of glossed on it, but I really want to talk about that. FHD's is definitely a lot more polished, though.
Nice mix-up. Zhao Dun, please!
Oh yeah, Zhao Dun I'm pretty sure is the best character in the game. At least Asan Zhao Dun. He's been nerfed a lot, and he's still just, he's good. He's very good.
Zhao Dun is so fucking dumb.
He is really good. It's him or Zhao Yuan. They're both fucked up, but I think Zhao Dun is a little bit better. And that's the one you made. So I'm gonna blame you for the fact that he's top tier. You just made him good. You said he has an eye patch, so he has to be good, right? That's the logic, right?
Because he's the cooler Zhao.
He's the cooler Zhao Yuan, so he's gotta be better, right? He's Superman. Oh fuck! He makes a really funny sound when you hit him. He goes like, oh!
Ouch!
You should, oh my god, you should make him make that sound in XJL when he dies, very rarely. You can do that!
I mean, yeah, the
What do you know? If he gets hit by Green Arrow's arrow, he makes that sound.
I mean...
He did pull out his own eye with an arrow and eat it. He did do that. He did do that! He fucking ate it, too. That's the part that gets me. It's not that he took it out. Like, that hurts enough. And then he was like, I'm gonna eat that. That looks really good. Like, that's on a kebab. You know, if Hannibal Lecter would do it, why wouldn't I? Okay, this guy is also fucked up, though. He had to get nerfed a lot, too. I think he still has, like, the best pressure move in the game with the shoulder charge. It's definitely up there. His DP is really good, too. Like, both the Xiaoho characters are very good. Like, if I remember correctly, Xiaoho Yuan has slower normals. They have, like, better hitboxes. Generally.
Fuck.
He's fucking with you right now.
The voices are probably my favorite thing about this game. Specifically his.
What?
It's like the most unfitting.
When I heard his win pose for the first time, I said, you need to hear this. Because I was going through the audio folder, and I was like, Kami, you gotta hear what Xiaoho Yuan sounds like when he wins. And he's like, you're about to hear it, I think. If he hits you one more time. Oh, never mind. But it's the best time. He was like, oh!
Oh, here's the. Oh!
It's so good. Oh, this guy's voice is real good too.
Oh, no. Which, I mean, we heard his before in Dynasty Warriors, we just weren't aware of where it came from. Especially when he goes, ah!
I knew it was there. But yeah, but we'll talk about FHDs in a minute. Because I feel like we haven't... You're gonna probably archive this. I don't think there's an archived, comprehensive explanation of that game.
No.
So you can archive this stream and we can just call it, like, that. Because I do want to explain the developmental process of Fighter's History.
That's not supposed to be there. That's a DOS move. I mean, that's the classic move. I don't think the AI is aware of that. I mean, it's fine. It provides additional challenge, I guess. Excuse me?
I mean...
Oh my god! Alright, understandable.
Damn, what a combo. Oh yeah, his DP has like no range, so he made it invincible.
Yeah.
Cause you look, it does not go very far. Zhang Fei was one of the most fun characters to do, because initially I was like, I don't know what his jump heavy punch is going to be, and then I was like, oh wait, that's a special move that doesn't need to be a special move. I just made his jump heavy punch a 2-hit slap, and it's like, oh, that's perfect.
Yeah, he's like, his pressure is crazy good in the Acer mode.
I mean, even in DOS, it's fine. It's just like, you have to not block, you have to like let him jump, and then it's good. So between DOS and Asen Zhu Huang, I think DOS is way better.
Yeah.
I think though that the Asen one does have better anti-air.
Oh my god!
Yeah, so
yeah, that's why the DOS one's better.
Yeah, the DOS one has like the combo. Yeah. Now I will say the DOS one can't combo off his super command grab, right? Like he can't do that, so he doesn't get as much damage there. But
yeah.
You know, we made sure to balance it around, like, the differences, right? We didn't want it to be, like, there's a clearly better one, even though there are. Sometimes, it's just how it ends up. But we wanted to make sure every version of the character had something.
DOS Lushu and just don't use him here. I'm sorry. We did everything.
Shushu?
The DOS Lushu.
I think he's okay. I think the character that... Well, yeah, maybe. I don't know.
It's because his weird-ass standing hard kick is worthless.
Yeah, we initially thought it'd be really useful, and then it didn't end up turning out. But I think we buffed everything else, so I think he's okay, to be honest. He's just like a footsies character, because like he can combo into the Blanca ball from every light, right? So that's helpful.
So, yeah.
That's pretty good, right? Because his crouching light kick is fucking Titanic.
That too.
It's like he's still fine. I think like the worst DOS character is probably maybe still Zhang Fei. It might be Juju too, though. I'm not positive. Zhang Fei is definitely tough, but like he's got a good fireball and a good DP, so it's like it's hard to say really. Oh god. Okay, so neither version of Ma Chao is bad. They're both stupid.
Like I think
They're
DOS
both
Ma
really
Chao
dumb.
has extended juggles with what he can do with the hard kick version of his
Yeah, I think the
spin
DOS.
kick
Which
thing.
one is better though? Is it Asen or is it DOS? It's hard because we gave them both really good things.
I don't know. It's awesome.
Yeah, because it's pretty competitive. I know the DOS one has the DOS one has the better hard, but
Whoa!
Woo!
Whoa!
Oh shit!
Oh, okay. Understood.
Oh, there's that win post. The green arrow.
For whatever reason, Green Arrow has that too. I didn't give him that. Passport.
No, he had that, and it was
Right, that was
you
just his
noticed it
original
when you were-
win pose.
Yeah, you noticed it when you were making the game, and I'm like, oh my god, it really is the same thing. Ooh, confirm. Oh right, his jumping light kick and his jumping hard kickers, or I think his jumping hard kick is like swapped.
Yeah,
or
it's used
something.
the other leg.
Yeah, that's right! Because they used his super frames, and we're like, well, we're gonna make the ASM one kick with the other foot, and we're gonna see how many people actually notice the jump heavy kick animation is different. And it doesn't have any impact on the hitbox at all, it's just the animation. But he kicks with the other foot.
It's just
That's
uses
the
the other
kind of
leg.
stupid shit. It's the kind of stupid shit we would do between DOS and ASM to make them different. We're like, look for esoteric old game things that old game developers would do. And kind of match it up. What a throw.
Is in fact not good. I don't know what he actually says, but the fact that he almost plainly says "wake up good" is the most caveman thing.
Oh man, okay. Is DOS South better though?
No. DOS South works. Like, as the Ace and South is the hotness. DOS South just kind of exists.
No, DOS Salsa does have the funniest triple punch though, because we gave him the one that he had in DOS.
Where he hits with his foot.
Yeah, Mr. Cobb was insistent, and to be fair, I'm glad he was, because it is funny. You know, the Asen one is the sane one, but the DOS one is the one that's a little fucky-wucky, you know?
And the thing about Southsaw being the boss is I tried with his AI as hard as I could, but he's kind of low tier. He's not terrible, but compared to everybody else, he's not as good. So
He's
just
fine.
like a
Meanwhile, in FHDs, he's fucked up. There's just no getting around it. I have to admit our angle of giving him the most cracked dandy step ever that I had to nerf like 5 different times. May have been better than just making him like a
just look
footsies
what I have
character.
to work with here. I was like, give him Danny Step. Fuck it. Oh, there we go. So we
Okay.
made it to the end. So another noticeable thing between DOS and Asen is the ending screens in Asen look awful, as you can see. The DOS one looks more civilized, but this, like, you got a person with. Excuse me. You can keep. You can tell them what's going on.
What happened?
Hello?
Oh, you got a phone call.
Okay.
But yeah, that's Sango Fighter. It's awesome. But yeah, like with Sao Sao and FHDs, it's like the opposite story. He's pretty tame in this game, but we'll get there when we get there. I don't want to talk about Sao Sao's moveset and how we came up with it until we get to the game. But overall, I'm like super happy with how this turned out. Obviously. And you know, for when the inevitable Sango Fighter 2 Team Daiwai remake comes around, we'll get to see how inventive we can get with those sprites, like what kind of moveset angles we can take. Because I don't want to just make it FHDs or just DIY or whatever, right? That would be lazy. That's the lazy way of doing it, and that's not fun. So we'll have to try and really innovate. I'm excited for the challenge because the movesets are a little different in Sango Fighter 2. Like, yeah, but there are less fireballs in that game, I will say. There are.
Alright.
There's a good deal less projectiles, so you know we'll have more variety in that front.
I'm gonna go take a quick run to the room of resting, and then we're gonna switch gears and talk about Fighters History Dynasties.
Yeah, so Fighters History Dynasties is gonna be super fun.
Instead, oh yeah, another Easter egg about this game. It plays the DOS opening and the Ace opening randomly. Like it's fun. It's another Easter egg for people who would only know about it otherwise, if they had it. But you know, there's a lot of Easter eggs like that. It's pretty fun. Be right back.
I hope you're excited because, you know, included in the FHD's discussion we're going to have is going to be the entire conversation about Ralph. And I'm going to be confirming some things about Ralph. Because I've been thinking a lot about, you know, the game. So I understand, Tubi. It's hard. You've got a lot of things to do. You're a busy man, and XJL is 100% the priority. And you and I both know why, and I'm winking at you. But I'm very excited.
Okay.
One thing I can say about XJL is that you will all thank me. You'll thank all of us on the dev team, but you'll be very happy.
I don't think I downloaded that to this computer.
I mean, if you have Dropbox, you can just pull it up.
Yeah.
Because that's the proper build.
Yeah. I don't know how it's gonna act on this thing. Whoa!
It'll be fine.
That was not the correct action. Oh boy. That would have sent you off.